Good afternoon, everyone, or good evening, depending on which way you see it. It's all good. I'm very grateful for you joining in today, and to our friends on Facebook also. Thank you for joining in today. You're joining into Brahma Kumaris in a space in Bradford. And so this is a spiritual organization which helps with personal development. And today we've got a speaker that actually has that in mind. So we would like you to keep your videos off and also your mics off, closed, I mean, not off so that you can speak, but closed, so that we can then actually have this recorded. So today we've got Katy Lowe that's come to join us, and she's going to be talking us through and helping us through this personal development that we all need, and we do need that. And Katy's been a student of Brahma Kumaris for 11 years. She's trained as a yoga teacher and works mostly with special needs, having a passion to go beyond physical limitations and creating space for all to reach their full potential, whatever that may be. So I think she's qualified to help us do both physical and spiritual gymnastics, which we all need that exercise, really. We don't, as Brahma Kumaris, do actually posture yoga, but we do putting the mind into a yoga posture. So I'm going to pass you on to Katy now and say thanks very much, Katy, for joining us. Welcome, Katy.
Hello, welcome to everyone else as well. And yeah, thank you so much, Margaret, for a lovely introduction. So today we're going to look at the bright thread in a rich tapestry of life. And I'm going to endeavour to share my screen. So let's see, let's hope that it goes to the page and the bit that I want it to. Get rid of that. Is that okay for everyone? I'm not sure if you've got something in the corner of that or not. Okay, I'm going to assume that it's all okay.
Yeah, it's okay, Katy.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So today we're going to look at this whole aspect of this tapestry of life. And every time I keep thinking, what does this tapestry of life really mean? I keep coming back to it's the story of our life and how everyone has a story. And sometimes that story unfolds in a million different ways and can be interpreted in so many different ways. So first and foremost, it makes me then think of, is my story the same as somebody else's story if they're looking at my picture? So if somebody else could see my life in a piece of art, would they interpret it the same way that I interpret it? And that makes me think that this whole concept, how there's three sides to every story. There's my version of the story. There's somebody else's version or interpretation of the story. And then there's the truth in the middle that not always can be seen from both sides. So sometimes it's that truth that unfolds itself. So the tapestry is like a work in art, if you like. It's an ongoing process over a period of time until you reach that final finished masterpiece. And sometimes you can't always be sure what the masterpiece is going to look like until you've completely and utterly finished it. And every single thread is on there and it's all been tied together nicely and hung up on a wall maybe. And this is just like our life. We go through day by day and life unfolds and things happen, and we like certain things, we dislike certain things. So our picture is made up of thousands of threads woven together, which is creating something rich and meaningful. So what does your life tapestry look like? If you was to sit back and ask yourself, what does your picture look like? And I can see this is a brilliant example of what's happening on the screen right now, of you have no idea what's actually ever going to happen around the corner. Someone has managed to circle two of these faces that we can see on the screen. So this is something I hadn't anticipated. And it's perfectly okay that this has happened. And when things happen in our life, do we have the ability just to flow and be flexible and adaptable? Are we able to maintain our stability when certain things happen? And someone drawing a circle on the screen is not going to make us feel unstable, but maybe not being able to get petrol, which we've had recently, could make you feel unstable. Or if you feel that something round the corner is going to threaten that which you have in your life right now, this could make us feel unstable. So we're going to look at things that we can reflect on. We're going to look at things that we can do that will help us to reflect, things that will help us to weave this beautiful picture of our life in a way that makes us feel content, stable, satisfied, and more open maybe. So also with this whole aspect of the tapestry, like it was shared in the blurb, how not every story is visible. And on a tapestry, you can't see the back side if it's hung up on a wall. So the back side of a tapestry is filled with lots of knots and all the different threads hanging and maybe still waiting to be knotted. Maybe there's more threads that are tied, waiting to be threaded to complete the full picture. So when we look back at our life, this helps us to shape our future by setting directions and providing support and enabling us to move forward in a healthy way. So as we go along the journey, like I said, there's going to be moments where we have this, all the knots on the opposite side. So one side can be seen, one side is hidden. And we don't always show everyone those jumbled threads that are overlapping or knotted in some places. We don't show everyone those broken or frayed threads, the different colours that are there. Sometimes these are hidden to other people. Sometimes we purposely try to hide them, and sometimes we just don't know how to share them with other people. We don't show everyone our hurts and our sorrows, our pains and our sufferings. But yet sometimes we need to learn how to do this. Sometimes we do share all of these knots and sorrows and our self-pities, and sometimes we need to learn not to share that with other people so much. So where do we get that balance? How do we get that balance of knowing when to share something, knowing when to withhold something, and who can we share with? We can't, so we should never suppress. So how can I share my story with somebody in a way that's not going to bring another person down? So for me, and very much within the Brahma Kumaris, we have this opportunity to connect on a deeper level with ourselves. And we're always encouraging ourselves and others to step into that inner world, into that inner dialogue. And like Margaret said, we don't practice the hatha yoga, the physical movements, but we have that yoga of the mind where we go inwards and upwards, where we endeavor to connect with God, with that higher energy, the powerhouse, where we can share absolutely everything with this higher power, with God, and allow God to soothe us, to nurture us, to comfort us, to guide us. to give us directions, to give us comfort, and just to be there as that silent observer, that silent being that doesn't necessarily talk in words to us, but can share from the heart, can share on a level of truth, can connect us to that powerhouse in order to, or not connect us, we have to connect to the powerhouse to fill our batteries. And over time, as we're weaving this tapestry, if you like, called life, as we're doing this, we can start to get tired along the way. We can start to feel disheartened at times. Maybe when some of the threads knot up in a way that we don't want them to, they maybe get entangled, and it's, you know, that unpicking of all the different threads that can sometimes cause us to lose our energy. So when we connect in meditation, in yoga, then this is when we can start to refuel and re-energize. We can start to create a new picture if needs be. Maybe at times we need to put one picture down and start another picture. Maybe it's a case of choosing a different color. Maybe we start off with an idea of what our picture is going to look like. And as we go along, we realize actually the idea we had, the intention we had, the desire we had wasn't necessarily the right one, and we need to change course. And maybe we started off creating a picture of a flower, and we ended up with, you know, maybe the flower we chose was a buttercup, and it ended up being a rose, and we didn't realize that we were just turning into a rose. We thought we were turning into a buttercup, or creating that picture of a buttercup. So some of the things that we can look at in our tapestry of life is this whole aspect of taking time to reflect. So this for me is really important. For me, taking that time to reflect can be done in many ways. One is, yes, in our yoga, sitting and connecting with God. And not only sitting and connecting with God, but can we have that level of connection? Can we have that level of yoga whilst we're in action, whilst we're going about our day? Can we bring God into our everyday life, supposed to just selecting 10 minutes, half an hour at the beginning of our day, or middle of the day, or end of the day? But can we create that relationship throughout our day and keep turning back into that reflective mode of noticing where I am, noticing what am I thinking about, noticing where are my thoughts being pulled, where are my thoughts being creative, where are my thoughts being destructive, and what can I do to rebalance, to restabilize, reconnect with the truth of who I am, reconnect with that higher power in order to bring benefit to my life and to somebody else's life. It bring benefit to humanity and the world that we live in. So questions we can ask ourselves in this, and also actually, just before I go into that, another way that I like to reflect is through journaling, and not necessarily just journaling, but sometimes just picking up a scrap piece of paper even, and a pen, and just writing whatever comes into the mind. It can make sense or not make sense. I personally like to write and then throw it away, so I don't read it again. I just like to sometimes offload whatever's in my mind, like that mind dump, if you like. Sometimes I draw a bin on the paper and put all the stuff in the bin, like, so the writing goes inside the bin, and then I throw it up, screw it up and throw it away. Just like I would when I put something in the bin. You put it in there, the dustman comes along and takes it, you don't see it again. So this for me then becomes a healthier way of downloading, offloading what's in my mind, supposed to polluting somebody else's mind with my woos, my worries, my concerns. And like I said earlier, When I really need to talk to somebody, can I talk to God, who is always going to be more powerful than I? But generally, I feel what we tend to do when we forget all of that, and when we're being honest with ourselves, what we tend to do is go and find someone who is someone we perceive to be, we may not have this thought, but someone we perceive to be maybe weaker than ourselves. We go and offload, or we go and ask them something, because generally we already know the answer, and we will search for somebody that may just agree with us, may not necessarily push us to where we should be going. So this is something we need to check within ourselves. So on this level of reflecting, questions we can ask ourselves is, how has your life changed in the past 6 months? So if we were to look backwards on our life and just look at where was I 6 months ago in order to, opposed to where I am now, what's remained constant over that period of 6 months? What have I learnt over those 6 months? How has the future changed, supposed to how I had anticipated it was going to be 6 months ago? So my present reality now, how is that different to what I had assumed it was going to be 6 months ago? So then we've got this concept of joining the known and the discovered together. And this is something we're going to do as an exercise maybe in a moment. But for now, just looking at the creation of the fabric made up of 2 types of threads. So if we're thinking of the woven tapestry, and we're thinking of those 2 threads. So on the tapestry, I hope I'm getting this right, but as we look at a tapestry, we've got the 2 threads. We've got the warp and the weft, I believe they're called, and how these 2 weave together, creating that masterpiece. So this is something we're going to look at in a moment, and we're going to unpick and experiment and explore, and maybe do a bit of a practical exercise with that. So something else we can do is to appreciate each and every thread that goes into that tapestry of life. And by this, I mean noticing that everyone in your life is there for a reason. Everyone in your life is bringing us a lesson, is bringing us their own thread, their own color, which creates a beautiful picture. If we had nobody else in our life, and if each of us, if we saw each person in our life as a different colored thread, then this is what makes up the whole. If there was only me in my life, sometimes it would be easier, but it doesn't necessarily mean it will have variety or beauty in it. So if I recognize all those threads bring benefit, and with only one thread, there would be no picture, would there? There would be no, there'd be no shifts and changes, no dynamic there. So to appreciate everyone that's in our life, to appreciate the positive and the negatives of life. So I really feel that there is a positive and a negative to absolutely everything. And this is like the law of entropy. Everything that goes up has to come down. It's the law of karma. Whatever I do will have an equal and opposite reaction. So can I appreciate all of these shifts and turns, all of these actions that I perform, all of these actions that everybody else around me performs? Can I appreciate the good and the bad? Can I appreciate the light and the dark? So when we start to get into that mode of appreciating, we start to build up that gratitude. And then we can, I love this terminology, allow my gratitude to change my attitude. So can I see and appreciate everything in life and allow that to change my attitude all the time? Can I constantly readjust? Can I constantly come back to truth? Can I constantly come back to peace? Can I come back to the goodness of who I truly am? Can I see the goodness in everybody else? And can I get through that nitty-gritty of each of our behavior and see the beauty that's behind our behavior? And then lastly, the patience. And patience, this recently has been coming up a lot. So it's this whole concept of never knowing what's around the corner, like I shared at the very beginning, never knowing what's going to happen next, and realizing that if I push too hard on life, if I push too hard on maybe the desires that I have, the way that I perceive the picture should be, the way I perceive my life should be flowing, if I push too hard, we may make things harder than it needs to be. We may make it longer than it needs to be. So if we're going through difficulty, we may make that difficult period longer than it needs to be, because we're pushing, we're trying to get our own way, really. So if I step back and have that patience just to allow life to unfold a little, without me trying to control it, then maybe I won't waste so much time. Maybe we would experience things in a different way. And can I do everything that I need to, but give time for the beauty to unfold? So having that balance between not sitting back and being lazy or careless, not pushing too hard to control everything, but can I find that place in the middle that's got that sweet spot, if you like, just waiting in anticipation, but also driving my life forwards with ease and lightness, being considerate to what is going on around me, who is around me. So let's pause there. And let's just take a moment to notice what's coming up inside ourselves. Notice what you're thinking, what you're feeling. Just observing your breath. Maybe even using this time just to look back, like we shared a moment ago on reflection. Maybe look back over the last 6 months of your life. Maybe just noticing what your foundation is made of. Om Shanti. So the practical side of what I was just talking about that we're going to look at now, I'm not suggesting you have to do this right now on paper, but you can if you wish, or you can do it as I suggest, or you can just do it in whichever way feels comfortable for you today, and maybe at another time when you have space for yourself, you can do it, the full sense of it. So we're looking at creating a tapestry of our life, And we're going to do it in a way that you could actually make a tapestry out of paper if you so wish. So maybe not right this second, but you can do part of it in your mind. You can make notes, and then if you wanted to, you could do it at some other time. So we're going to look at the threads, if you like, and the threads that are vertical are the warp. And these are the foundations I was just saying about. Look at what your foundation is made up of. So these are the threads that go on the loom to start with. So these are the ones that are constant, they are stable, they're strong enough to withstand the storms of life. There are known goals, are the deep purposes that we have in our life. They're the things that are important to us, and they're the things that represents our inner beliefs, that inner spirit, and all the determinations that we have for life. So this is the one that I've done in a short version, but if you was to do it yourself, what you would do is get a piece of paper. If I can find a piece here, I'll show you what I mean. If you was to get an A4 piece of paper and fold it in half, and then just cut along so that the two ends, you don't cut right to the very end, so that you would eventually, if you was to open your piece of paper, you would have slits going all the way along. So the vertical lines going all the way along, but joined still at the top and the bottom. And on each of the strips, this is where you would write your purposes, your purpose of life, all the things that you perceive to be the purpose of your life is what you would write on all of those strips. Or you could just do it in a notebook or a piece of paper and just write your purposes as you wish. So as an example here, I've done mine, and I've said that mine are, I have something over my screen, so I'm just going to try and move it so I can. There you go, that's better for myself. So I've got here being kind and caring. So these are some of the things that really I feel passionate about for myself. That is my foundation, if you like. My purpose of life is to be kind and caring, to be creative, to be to have a positive outlook no matter what. Yes, see the positive, see the negative, but can I always strive to go forwards in a positive way, see the positive in whatever is happening over a long period of time, not just when something wrong happens, but over a consistent period of time. Can I constantly keep driving myself forward to see the positive, to bring love into everything that I do, to see the love in everybody, to share love with everybody, to have that loving connection with God? Can I have constant newness and bring change into my life without being scared of change, without fighting against change? Can I develop and grow that connection with myself and with God? Can I be an example for others? And can I bring knowledge into my life? Can I use knowledge in a practical way? So these would be some of my foundations that if I was to do the exercise, I would write on my strips going this way. So in yoga, in Raj Yoga, we have 4 arms, if you like, that we try to keep balanced as much as possible. So one of them is knowledge, to be that student, to learn all the time. One is to have that connection with God, connection with self. So this would be called yoga. We have the inculcation of virtues. So bringing virtues into our everyday life, bringing virtues into every action that we perform, seeing virtues in others. And then the 4th one would be sharing this knowledge with other people. So I've tried to weave them, if you like, into my line here of my purposes. So then once we've done that, so I'm going to give you some time if you wish to write something down. Like I said, you don't have to do the cutting, but maybe just take a few moments just to write a couple of things that could be your purpose. Maybe you don't wish to write anything today, or maybe you don't even have pen and paper today. That's absolutely fine. You can just close your eyes and think of them in your mind. Om Shanti. So the next part of the exercise is then to look at the weft threads, so the ones that go up and over. So these threads are the horizontal threads on the loom that are, like I just said, passed over and under the warp threads to create the pattern. So these need to be fluid and flexible. They can sometimes be fragile, sometimes they can break, or they can be thick and strong. They can be a multiple of colours. They can differ and they can change. Maybe even the type of thread changes to create a different pattern, a different texture. But not always immediately obvious at first. So maybe you, like I shared earlier, maybe you have an idea of what your pattern is going to be like. Maybe you have an idea of what your outcome is going to be. So you've got your purpose, but maybe you're not always able to see the outcome of that purpose initially. Maybe it takes time to see that through. And being drawn over this long period of time, like if we're looking at 6 months even, or less or more, if being drawn over time, we can add things to it that we didn't anticipate at the beginning. So what we would do here is, you've got all your strips going this way, you would then cut up another piece of paper all the way, so no joins this time. So if you was to do this now or another time, you would cut lots of strips all the way along that you could weave through that which you've already done. Or you just write it on a piece of paper however you wish. So you don't have to do the tapestry side of it. So these would be all the discoveries that you've learned as you've gone through life. So again, I've done some here for myself. And if these were all put on singular strips, these are what I would weave through what I already have, that loom. So to always be a student, and this is what I was sharing about one of the limbs, if you like, of the Raj Yoga, is the knowledge. So on the previous page, we had knowledge being one of the purposes of life. So then the outcome of that would be to always be a student, and being a student of life, then this teaches me every single day something new. I allow myself to step back and to be taught something, opposed to having that ego of thinking that I know everything. And then that's a checking point for myself. Am I open enough on a regular basis to learn something new? Am I open enough to absorb something? And quite often, the things that we learn in life are very similar, or we think that I know this because I've heard this lots of times. But can I have that humility to actually hear it on a different level, and know that every time I look at the same thing, I'm always going to learn a new, or always going to discover a new layer. So this is a checking point for myself. Am I able to do this? Am I doing this? What do I need to do to change in myself, to constantly be that student? To see the positive and negatives in everything. This is something that I'm learning as I go along through life, that sometimes I enjoy something and I wish it would stay exactly as it is, and then it changes and it turns into something not so beautiful anymore. Or the opposite way around, something really horrible and painful can turn into something really beautiful and beneficial. So just to remind myself, or to see that lesson in life, that there's a positive and negative side to everything. A battery has a positive and a negative. So to remind myself, and the lessons and the discoveries I've learned through life, is that hurt people hurt. That when somebody is doing or saying something that I don't feel is accurate, or I don't like, or is hurting me, or I feel is being dumped on me, to remember that this person, their behavior in this moment is only as it is because they also are hurting, they also are struggling, and they're just offloading their stuff that they're going through, or projecting it onto me or to another. Maybe I'm just witnessing this happening. So to brainstorm, this is something that we were talking about earlier, about being reflective. So brainstorming, and this exercise in itself is a form of brainstorming. So to see virtues behind everything, to bring virtues into action, to forever have movement. I love to have movement. Hence, I became a Hatha yoga teacher. Hence, I love to work with special needs children and to bring movement into their life when sometimes people perceive that they can't do that which another can. I love to work with very complex bodies, and the more complex the body, the more I get out of it, if you like, because I feel then that this person has something to offer, and we just need to find what it is that they have to offer. And sometimes they can make the most minute movement, or sometimes you can't physically see the movement, but you can feel energetically a twitch in a muscle, and you know that they're experiencing a movement, they're experiencing a shift of energy. And then when we spiritualize that, can I experience those shifts of energy within myself? Can I upgrade my energy constantly? Can I do everything that I can to contribute positively to the environment energetically? So can I bring a beautiful energy into the environment that I'm in any given moment? So when I'm in an environment that feels quite toxic, can I bring another energy in there to soften that, to purify that? And even more so, can I make that shift in myself to connect with that higher source we were talking about earlier, to connect with God, and bring God's energy into the moment, into that energy to shift it and change it and bring beauty back into the picture again. So another thread could be, who am I? To constantly keep diving deeper and deeper and deeper into that self-discovery of learning the truth of who I am, that I am not this body that I am sitting here in today, that I am more than this body, that there's more to life than that which our eyes see. There's always a bigger picture. And like we started with, there's always three sides to every story. And can I bring humor into the day, into my life? You know, when I get it wrong, when I make mistakes, when I feel uncomfortable, can I bring a bit of humor into it in order to lighten the day? So again, I'm going to pause here and give you some time to reflect on this for yourself. If you were to just use these 8 boxes, what would you write in those 8 boxes of your discoveries through life? So if you don't want to do it in the form of weaving, you can just do it in the brainstorming like you see here and write discoveries through life in the middle and just put some limbs off of there and write some words of your own personal discoveries of life. So just taking that moment to reflect for yourself. Om Shanti. So if we were then to, if we had done it in strips, or you do it later, you would then take all of those strips and you would weave them through the loom that you created at the beginning. And you would end up with some words going down, some words going across. They wouldn't make full sentences. You would see bits and pieces. So it's a nice example when we see it like that, how not everything is visible. Some things are hidden, some things are on the top, some things are on the backside. So if you'd done it in a brainstorm version, then you would have 2 pages, and you would have your purpose on one page and your discoveries on another. And then you can sit and you can reflect and see how much they join together. You can look back over that 6-month period and do this, or you can do it for future things that you would like to happen. And just noticing, is your foundation really stable? Is your foundation supportive for you? Or is there some things in your foundations that you need to amend and change? And maybe you can, for future wise, you would maybe look at what would you like to discover, and then in 6 months' time do the process again and see, did you discover that which you wanted to discover or not? So it can be like an ongoing process. So I'm going to pause there and see if there's any questions. So I'm hoping that.
Have you got any in your chat box, Katy?
Yes, okay, there is some here. Someone's saying that they liked my reaction to the highlighting because I admire the energy of your nice. Okay, so that's just a comment, there's not a question. It's a question. Okay, we have one question here. You mentioned the physical yoga, hatha yoga. So is this very good in conjunction with the BK mind yoga, and how often? Okay, so it's totally up to the individual, really. I personally perceive that everyone should have movement in life. If we're sitting for long periods of time, which we can do in Raj Yoga, if we're sitting for meditation over a long period of time, it's definitely beneficial to move your body. It most definitely does not have to be Hatha Yoga. I personally perceive that Hatha Yoga has turned into gymnastics, like Margaret was sharing at the beginning. It is a bit like, in today's world, it is a bit like tying yourself up in a pretzel. This type of yoga I'm not into at all. The type of Hatha yoga that I like is very gentle and very mindful, and just learning to move each and every joint in my body to keep it flowing. However, I also am learning, as this body is getting older, that it can't do the things that it used to do. So I'm having to learn to adjust and to change to that. I'm also noticing very much through lockdown that I sat in a chair for longer periods of time, which has caused my body to have some aches and pains. Yes, it does join very nicely with the BK Raj Yoga, the yoga of the mind, because when I'm moving the body, it sometimes helps me to tap into what's really going inside my mind. But at the same time, there's also great importance of just sitting really still and not having to rely on too much movement in order to know what's going on inside my mind. So I think the two we have to unpick, unravel, and they're definitely separate things. But yes, they can go together very nicely. The question here is saying, how often should we do it daily? Is totally up to you. Daily, yes, we need to move our body. Every organ in our body needs movement in order to function. But like I said, that could be going for a walk. Going for a walk could be yoga. Yoga for me is definitely more so about what we do in our mind now and how much I move my thoughts around to bring benefit. So if there's no other questions, there's one more coming up here. So it's an observation someone's making, that they're saying that I need to include plants in my room. I can feel the vibrancy of the greenery in your set, or in my setting behind me. Yeah, colour is very good to bring plants and flowers into our life, is always uplifting. It brings a different energy. So yes. So Margaret, do we go into a meditation now?
Yes, please, if you can. That would be something nice.
Okay, let's do the yoga of the mind, which is the most important. So you can just take a moment to sit back. Maybe you want to close your eyes, or you can keep your eyes open on the screen in front of you is a beautiful picture. Maybe you could just, with your eyes open if you would prefer, or closed, it's totally up to you. So just sitting comfortably, making any adjustments, and starting to release and let go. Allowing yourself to surrender into calmness. And slowly starting to turn your awareness within. And just watching your thoughts as they come and go. And allowing yourself the time to enter a space of sacred silence. Letting yourself go deeper and deeper. And as you go deeper, starting to disconnect from the outside. But traveling inside yourself, noticing and feeling what's going on inside your inner world, your inner landscape. Noticing all the sounds that you can hear. So although you're going in, still being aware of the outside world, but not being pulled by the outside world, not being influenced by it, just acknowledging the sounds for what they are. So almost as if you're listening or even watching from a deep sanctuary inside yourself. And observing with calmness and kindness. Just noticing whatever you notice with no judgment. And starting to rise above the world of matter into that realm of silence. Into a space of love. Seeing yourself as a tiny point of light. And becoming aware of your true nature. Becoming aware of your beautiful masterpiece, your own personal tapestry of life. And as you step deeper and deeper into this place of light, start to notice yourself radiating light. Feeling that connection of true, pure love. Really enjoying this feeling of connection, of pure love. This feeling of being surrounded by love. completely free and totally still. Even if there's movement, the mind is starting to become still. And allow yourself to be drawn into the lap of love, held by the Supreme Soul, feeling safe and secure and nurtured with unconditional love, healing love. And allowing this feeling of love to expand. And in this light of love, feel yourself radiating love, feeling light, feeling the joy of being held and supported with complete peace all around you. Just enjoying this experience in whichever way it unfolds for you. Taking your time here to embrace this love and filling your heart with God's love. Shanti. Slowly coming back into the here and now, knowing that you can come back to this at any time. Om Shanti.
Thank you, Katy. I found it enlightening. I found it very good. The analogy of the tapestry really, I mean, over time it weaves itself in there, all threads come in and go. I actually liked when you said, allow gratitude to change my attitude. I haven't heard that before, but I'm working on gratitude at the moment, so that was very good. And then when I was doing the sort of brainstorming, just one thing came up: adjust or bust.
Lovely.
So, you really have to move. You can't stay there, like unless you dance, sing, go out for a walk or do some exercises, whatever it is, you have to adjust yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You can't stay locked in. So I found the whole session good for me, and I hope everybody else did as well. And I'd like to say thank you so much for coming and sharing it with us.
Thank you so much.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
I'd like now, if I can, to advertise what we've got for the rest of the week for everyone. On Tuesday, we will be offering you creative meditation. That's 6 till 7 p.m. And that's on the same Zoom number as you are on now. And if you're anything like me, it's only the second week we've had this new creation of the number. And the number was okay. That came up on the screen. Then I thought, what's the passcode? So you've got to remember that as well. So this is the newness in the tapestry of life. And then on Thursday, we do our virtues and power session. And Katy was saying, using your values and using your specialities, and what humour is one of the greatest virtues that you can have, to see the lightheartedness in everything. And that is actually a little bit longer. It's not just an hour, it's 6 till 7:30. That has half an hour meditation included in it. And then moving on to next Saturday, 30th October, then we've got Meditation Matters. And that's calming your mind. And so that's something that we did a little bit with Katy today, creating that space. And I appreciated she gave us the space to, she put quite a lot in for an hour. And I think you'll find next Saturday equal. You will certainly find some value in there. And then we have a mailing list. And if you'd like to join that, you need to actually fill it in by going onto our website, www.bradford.innerspace.org. And you'll need to fill in all your details, send it off, and then it will come back to you. And so if you don't get it returned to you, you can't find it, you need to check your spam folder, because you have to actually reply saying that it's you. Otherwise it won't happen. And that will enable you to see all the things that we've been advertising today and more besides. And then moving on to, if you'd like a recording of today's session, so you can check over how to do your weaving, then please allow 24 hours and contact us at bradford@innerspace.org. And we'll certainly see what we can do to get that off to you. And so again, thank you very much for joining us. Really, it's been an education today, and I hope you found the same. Thank you.